put this up. I'm just sifting through the chat. Let's not forget that Runner XBTP sitting down. Damn. What is up, everybody? I've just went live as well. What is up? Let me know if the audio is fine. I've heard people stand when they all right, it's gonna be a good stream. Right. All right, audio is great. That's good. Welcome everybody. Let's give it a minute or two to allow everybody to join up on the stream. Let me get my phone and retweet it. Let's get some views going. So some quality action. He said it on stream like a month ago. That's funny though. Quote, going live now. Point down. All right. Smash the likes, 100%. Smash it. We've got 90 viewers right now. Let's smash it out before we start this stream off. Quality action was painful. That move fucked up my book. I mean, I just had some limit orders, so for me it was relatively easy because I was away with my daughter, right? It was my daughter's birthday, so we went away for the weekend. Was really good. We survived and learned from it. That's good, man. That's good. Good evening, Vertical. So half a minute and then we're kicking things off. Let's see if we've got everything going on. We've got Sierra chart here ready to roll. The composites, the weekly, the monthly. Do we have the chart books, the VWAP there? Look at that. Let's make sure that we've got, yes, we got the auto select feature going on. Quarterly, monthly, weekly. Regular chart. Rolling VWAPs. Let's plot them in the mix as well. Prep. All right. Shit, it's a quiet week. Tuesday and Thursday. Okay. What's up, John? What's up, Nabula? Levels have been working clean as well. Yeah, man. I mean, they've been making money, right? That's good. Hey, Dino. Hope you're doing well, buddy. I've read your DM as well, bro. I haven't had time to reply to that yet, so I will make sure to cover that within the next following days. Basic handles suck ass indeed. You got that right. Happy birthday to your daughter. Thank you, man. I'll afford that. We went to a movie park in Germany. Was quite a trip for us, but it was amazing for the kids. Like, you got fucking SpongeBob running around and Sandy and all the goodies, so I liked it as well. It was good. That's okay though. It's okay about the DM. No biggie. I just didn't have time yet. I just got back behind the desk. You was there 2 days ago. I've seen your DM as well, TJ. I'll reply to that as well. I'm gonna reply to all the DMs this week, like Monday or Tuesday. But it was fun, man. Like, it was really nice. How long I've been trading? I think I'm coming relatively close to, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So 9 years right now. So after this year, it's 10 years. So yeah. You know, I'm 33, but fuck, you know, I feel like 51. Like, definitely wasted some years there. Okay. Either way, hope everybody's doing well. First off, let me go back to the dashboard. The streams are sponsored by Bybit. Now, if you do want to support the channel, you can choose to, you know, register an account with them. You can simply make an account on our website. And everything that we cover throughout the stream, the indicators, you know, the educational content. If you want to have free access to that, you can just simply let your exchange pay for you. You can choose between Bybit and Blowfin. Our streams are sponsored by Bybit. Now, I am aware that not everybody is able to join on Bybit. That is why we have added Blowfin as well as a secondary option. You simply make an account through our affiliate link. Then you can select your exchange here. You can input your user ID and then you can hit join Discord and start trading. Once your volume has been met, you will be automatically granted access. So with that being said, let's take a look at the prep. First things first, today it is the 3rd from August. Tick size that I'm using with TPO is going to be 100. So for those of the guys who are in the Discord, we've been rocking 80, but I've changed it to 100 because volatility is picking up again, right? Especially after this move away from the 21-day composite. So at this point, I'm rocking the 100 tick size again because otherwise the profiles get too elongated in my opinion. So let's move forward, right? Do you trade throughout the entire cycle? Yeah, bro. I mean, bear markets are easy money. That's where I have my best trades in bear markets because bear markets typically have way better structure and because bull markets are way more emotionally driven and bear markets is just ghost town because there's not a whole lot of people trading. That is why it's so easy in my opinion. Either way, impact news events. What do we have this week? Calendar Forex Factory. We've got none on Monday. We've got the first thing that's interesting is on Tuesday. So we've got the ISM services on Tuesday 2 p.m. I do want to be aware of that. ISM services 2 p.m. UTC on Tuesday. And then we have, let's annotate this right there. And then we've got the unemployment claims 12:30 p.m. on Thursday. Unemployment claims 12:30 p.m. UTC on Thursday. All right, let's take a look at TPO. CR chart. First things first. What is the most important takeaway here? For those of you who have been watching the videos and the daily preps that I posted for I think 5 or 6 times on the YouTube, know that I like to start off with daily profiles, then take a look at the weekly, then take a look at the composite. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing. First things first, if I zoom out, Bitcoin has been trading within a range for over 21 days. This is a 21-day composite. That is why I tweeted, and we covered that within the previous streams, where I said, if we eventually break away from value, whether that's going to be up or down, you don't want to be fading the initial break from value because it's going to be the break from value for a long period of time, right? It's not just going to be a break and then immediate retracement. So, we broke away from value and now we're just filling in all of the single prints here. We are coming relatively close, I think, towards a, point of interest, which is where I base my longs off. I will cover that in the later segment of this video. But for now, the most important takeaway here is that we have accepted below the 21-day composite, meaning the value area low from that composite at 117.1K is our bearish line in the sand. Anything else, if we zoom in, we've got a naked point of control 115, and we've got a naked point of control 111.3. So that's what I want to be aware of. 115 and 113. So let's just first type that out. We've got naked point of control at 113K and 115K. So to me, the reason why I think this is important is because these are both anomalies. Now, depending on which one we're going to be tagging, right, I'll be taking a closer look at the interaction, because I think if we're going to be capping it, for example, here, we'll have to see if there's an overlap with VWAP because there's no new composite up here. But if there is overlap with, for example, previous month VWAP or previous week value area low that is coming up, if there is overlap, then it becomes a level of interest to me. But this stands out to me and that stands out to me, 115K and 113K. Intraday, we swapped the poor highs here from previous day, which was on Saturday. Besides that, there's no real A+ trade other than the sweep of that low that we had during the overnight session. But for me to get really comfortable in taking the next best trade is when Bitcoin forms another range here. Whether that's going to be a 3-day composite, 4-day composite, I don't really mind. but as long as it is a quality composite. Now, you could ask yourself, why is the current 2-day, let's say that the day closes like that, why is that not a relevant composite? Because volume during the weekends is just ass. So I just, I tend to neglect composites that form throughout the weekend. So that being said, that's it on a daily. On the weekly, let's open up this chart. So on the weekly, we had a 2-week composite. Whoops, a 2-week composite, right? Which has been capping downside ever since this initial move. Let me zoom in a bit more. This move from the 2-week composite value low should have been the low, right? Retested here and then continuation higher. I was stalking this area for potential longs, but instead we just sliced straight through, retested as resistance, and then we got continuation lower, right? So not the best area, in my opinion, to be looking for longs if we're not getting a clean structure like we usually do. What I think is very important going forward is that this is going to be a bearish line in the sand, and that we are currently not trading at any significant structure. This is just filling in the single prints here from that break away from value that we had right there. So honestly, if I were to pinpoint these two values, I would say 2-week value area low, and then we've got a composite value area higher as well. So Bitcoin is, basically trading between these two values. Do I have anything of interest here going into the rest of the week? Not really, because it is not really nearby. I'd say the range that we're trading within is probably going to be this, at which, if we reject there and then close back within the range, we'll have to see what happens next. But until then, I'm going to be keeping a closer eye on VWAP, because I think the newly formed monthly VWAP that we have is super important, and that's basically going to be the make it or break it, in my opinion. So the weekly accepted below a 2-week composite. Acceptance below 2-week value area low. That's bearish. Anything else on TPO? Not really. The monthly is something that we can't really use. We do have a naked point of control there at 117, but for now that's not really relevant. I'd prefer to see like a monthly composite or whatever, or at least decent structure. That's something that we don't really have right now based on TPO. So TPO done. Honestly, like, this is the first stream where we actually have 2 points. Like, it can be this easy, right? We've got a naked point control 113. We've got one on 115. We have acceptance below the 2-week value area low. Bearish, right? And then that's it. Mainly waiting for, let me just get this out. Waiting for a new composite value area to form for the next best trade. I guess a sip of my tea. So longer term VWAP, and I'll answer this question because Dino had it in the chat about, correct me if I'm wrong, bro, but the question that you had was, why do I choose, or when do we choose between TPO, or why do I have only previous month value based on VWAP and whatnot? And the main reason for that is, with the indicators, we are able to aggregate data between a bunch of spot exchanges for crypto, right? If I'm looking at TPO, I'm looking, for example, this chart alone is only Binance. So I'm not really aware of what's happening on Coinbase, right? I'm not able to use Coinbase within Sierra chart. So for me, like, I am aware that we have previous month value area low, etc., and stuff like that, right? But for a proper value area calculation for me, where I'm utilizing both Coinbase and Binance, that is why I'm preferring to take a look at VWAP over TPO. So I'm not sure if that answers your question entirely, but until then, this is basically my preference. So right here, let's take a look at the yearly, then break it down towards the quarterly, the monthly, and the weekly, and then we can come up with a trading plan in the following segment. So first things first, here's the yearly. So as we've covered within the previous stream, there was not really anything to be useful within the prep during this short-term consolidation because we had no structure nearby. we were basically pinched between the standard deviation 4 from 2024 and the standard deviation 3 from 2024. Now, no surprise that we are currently forming a short-term low right here, right? Because we've got this interaction there with the level, it has been capping that previous first all-time high attempt. So whatever we do, I think that this is going to be a big level going forward. It's the standard deviation 3 from 2024. The quarterly developing value is something that we can start to use right now because we've got 1 month done within the quarter. I'm going to be letting this, play out a week or so before I'm actually going to be using the developing value on the quarterly. But so far, it's good that we have a overlap here. Should we lose this as support? Wait, like that? Should we lose that as support? I think that the next likely destination is going to be 106, where we're probably sweeping all of these lows and then get a close back within value, right? So as for the upcoming week, this is the most important value, where it's the standard deviation 3. It is confluent with previous month value area low, and it is confluent with the developing quarterly value area low. So we either need to be forming a low here, or the next level of interest becomes 106, right? Which is this previous quarterly value area high. Now, the reason why I got long, and that I shared on Twitter earlier today, was we got like some sort of a tree drive structure here, but I had limits scaled in here to get long. As I've tweeted about numerous times, when we get a new monthly value, and we've covered this within the Discord as well, where this right here, this monthly close, when we're trading below, this is our bearish line in the sand. Any failed auction above the previous month VWAP can be considered to be a potential shorting opportunity for a move lower. At that point in time, I know it doesn't make sense where you're like, we can't really trade towards previous month value low because we've got XYZ, right? Everybody on Twitter is saying, no, the low is in, we're going to go higher. Or maybe you're like, well, the fundamentals or the macro or whatever. For me, what works for me is to keep it as simple as possible. I've seen entire threads on the reasoning why we break down and why we're trading lower, based on heat maps, based on order flow, based on, I don't know, wallet outflows. Honestly, I'm just like, okay, this is previous month value. As per laws of market dynamics, this is resistance. If we trade below, it's bearish. What's my destination? Value area low. If we can reclaim this, I don't care what everybody is saying. The destination is going to be 120 until proven otherwise, right? So for me, this was the shorting opportunity and the destination was the value area low until proven otherwise. Where am I wrong? On a clean break back above value, right? So this short, that was a good long, and now I've already taken a good amount of profits because it's a Sunday, right? And I'm like, I woke up, we had like a 2K move off the lows, perfectly fine, right? I took majority off here, stops flat, and I will either look for another trade on another sweep of the lows, or I will add back to the trade once we can trade back above 116, right? Because that's a bullish shift on condition. I'll go over the chat in a bit, by the way, guys. I'm just finishing up on the prep based on VWAP. So this was just a bullish interaction, bearish interaction, right? There is no need to overcomplicate things. The way how our brain is wired is that we are really good at pattern recognition, right? If you overload your stuff with, I need to be looking at delta divergence, I need to be looking at order flow, I need to be looking at heat maps, I need to be looking at, I don't know what else websites we've got these days with, cross-chain, whatever the fuck it is. Trust me, if you're not able to write down your prep or your way of trading on the back of a small piece of paper, probably doing a bit too much, right? I can simply say, acceptance below, I know what my trigger is, and I'm targeting that, right? Until proven otherwise. So if we take this into account, what I've just said here, let's take a look at the weekly. So weekly value is going to be really interesting. Same stuff. Look, weekly value. We are bearish against, when we're trading up here, wait one sec. When we're trading within previous week value, the lower band is what we call value area low, and the upper band is what we call value area high. This is support, that is resistance. If we are not able to accept above, right, it is to be considered bearish until proven otherwise. I didn't get into this short, unfortunately, right? I missed this one, but there was a good enough reason to fade this, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be a home run trade, but at least towards VWAP, right? For your first take profit. And then when we close below, you're targeting value area low. And then when we break below value low, you're like, holy shit, this is going to be a good one, right? And then we're getting the expansion lower. But it just goes to show whether it's going to be a yearly value, monthly value, quarterly value, or a weekly value. It's all the same, right? The edge comes from knowing how to combine these time frames, right? That's the difficult part. The easy part is knowing, okay, we're rotational within value, shorting value high, longing value low until I get proven wrong, okay? Now let's break this down. The yearly is at key high time frame support. The quarterly is at key high time frame support. The monthly was at key high time frame support. This is resistance, that is support. If we combine everything, we have a upcoming previous week value right there, previous week value low, previous week VWAP around 116, confluent with previous month VWAP. So even if we were to accept back within previous week value, let's say that this is going to be our previous week value. Let's say that we accept back within, whoops, like that. Retest, support. This is going to be the destination. Should we become extremely bullish and euphoric here? No, because at this point, we've got confluence with the previous week VWAP and the previous month VWAP. So 116-117 is going to be big ass resistance, right? So that is why I think the next best trades are going to be based on that previous month value, okay? Do I have another example on previous month value? For example, right here, when we accept above previous month value area high, we combine it with bullish structure. This is where you get long and you would have captured this entire run up, right? That is how important previous month value is to me. Now, let's write that down. Longer term VWAP, previous year, standard deviation 3, capping downside, confluent with developing quarter and previous month value area low. Bullish line in the sand. I get a lot of questions about the bullish line in the sand, bearish line in the sand. Essentially what it means is if I have a line in the sand, I know that if it trades below, and this is my bullish line in the sand, I'm not going to be giving this like 10 attempts to try and get long. No, I know when we're getting time and space below, I should no longer be looking for longs, right? This is to protect myself from taking shitty trades. That's essentially what it is. Now, long-term VWAP, previous standard deviation 3, capping downside, all right. Then we've got buyers stepping in previous month value area low, likely next range between previous month val and previous month VWAP. Upcoming previous week VWAP confluence with previous month VWAP, and there's that. Rolling VWAP. What else do we have? Well, right here, right? Look at that. By the way, man, I mean, you just cannot make this up, right? Let me just clean up this chart. It's getting a bit too much right now. The interactions right there with the previous month VWAP. Look, right there and right there. Previous month. Wait, let me get this line out of the way. Now these are the levels that you want to be trading, right? That's why I posted about the order flow segment on Twitter, where I'm like, everybody wants to learn the cool things. You just need to know where to trade, right? You need to know where. And then when your alert goes off, you need to know how. How do I get into a trade? And honestly, order flow is really nice, but it turns like a lot of good traders into shit traders because they don't really know what to look for, or they start to overcomplicate things, right? It is just a game of who is getting offside. If you see a large amount of people buying into these highs, you're starting to laugh your ass off because you know it's previous month VWAP, my G, right? We ain't going above this level until we're getting time and space. This is bearish. And then when you see that the market is shifting towards the underside, right, where they are now offside, then you can start taking shorts because these will puke. Same story here, right? We are starting to front run. At this point, you're like, okay, well, we've got a potential sweep here, a sweep pattern forming. We didn't really flush into it. Your alert didn't go off. Boom, spiked into it. Maybe you're seeing a lot of retards hitting short. You're like, all right, boy, previous month value low, let's wait. And then you get, you see in real time, if you're looking at order flow, you'll see that the sellers were getting a spike in open interest. We're getting a spike in sell delta, right? Indicating that new sellers are entering the market. Once they are offside, they are either going to be closing, which is going to be forming buy pressure, or they will be forced to close, right? Which is when they're stubborn and they're like, no, this is a downtrend. We should just go lower and yada, 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 right? And then they just get liquidated higher. Either way, rolling VWAP, right? This is where the strength comes in because the daily rolling VWAP is your first sign. This is usually going to be the best interaction on the initial breakdown. We broke below previous month VWAP. It was then confluent here with that daily rolling VWAP, right? So really clean shorting opportunity. This is why I posted on Twitter here, bearish line in the sand, 116. Boom. Where do we go? Previous month very low, right? So now that we're trading above, good sign. Could be getting some expansion higher here as well. But I wouldn't necessarily get super, super, super bullish if we do start trading higher because, as I've said before, the bearish line in the sand is here, right? So we could do this, spike even all the way into the 21 day, and then reject, and then trade all the way back towards the lows, similar to what we did here. Let me see if I can find it. Look, it is not the best visual. Let me just take a look at the HT 6-hour chart. We had a huge composite here. Big push higher, right? Reject. New lows. So if we're getting a squeeze, I think, similar to, Bitcoin is not going to be V-shaped recovery, going to be forming a V-shaped reversal here, in my opinion. It needs to take time, right? But I am higher time frame bearish against that level, and I am higher time frame bullish against this level. I'm not going to be predicting whether Bitcoin is going to be at 120K within a week or whatever. I just know I want to be able to look for trades there, and I want to be able to look for trades there. If we fail to hold this, I'll be targeting the next level of interest, right? So, I'm just going to be treating it as such. So let's move back towards rolling VWAPs. And at the end of the stream, we're going to be doing Q&A where I'll dive into the entire chat because it's getting a bit, there's a lot of questions. So we'll do a Q&A at the end of the stream. So definitely stay until that. Hourly. Rolling VWAP right here. What do we have? We've got a bearish development here where this 30-day VWAP, this was the first time where we broke above, right? 30. Let me just get rid of the 7-day, by the way. Don't really need that right now. So, broke above the 30-day rolling VWAP, big move higher. Now, this is the first time where we actually break below the 30-day rolling VWAP. Let me see if I can find an example. Yeah, same stuff here. 30-day rolling VWAP, right? Break below, cap it, boom, back towards the lows, right there, right? So going forward, this 30-day rolling VWAP is going to be a bearish line in the sand, and it happens to be confluent with a previous high and with that previous month VWAP. So again, this adds to our thesis that 116 is going to be a bearish line in the sand. And as long as we are not able to accept above, based on rolling VWAP, poof, 109s, right? Let me just get the previous quarterly like that. Let me just fine tune this towards that. Hourly chart, previous quarter value high, 107, 107, 17. All right, 90 day. So that would be fun if we were to retest that. Poof. Let's just hope we don't do that. Okay. So rolling VWAP. Acceptance below 30-day VWAP. Bearish. 90-day confluent with previous quarter value high. Potential worst case bid area. And by worst case, I mean, if we're really going to be, where's the developing year value? 107 as well. Okay. So from a higher time frame perspective, I would love to see a low getting formed here. But if we try to go back up and we reject, I mean, I'm open to this. Where we flush all of the lows, everybody gets super bearish. Then we form a low, and then we slowly creep upwards again. So this is definitely an area of interest to me right there, for a longer term play. But we'll see when we eventually get there. We'll be doing live streams every week, anyways. 90 day, all right. So to summarize, let me get a sip of my tea first. Hi Stein, hope you're doing well, bro. Enjoy the holiday, nice. Okay. High time frame. Bitcoin is running into support where we have the previous year standard deviation 3 confluent with the developing quarter value low and the previous month value low. Can't type anymore. So all in all, a good area to look for a potential mean reversion trade. This is exactly why I had limits scaled at previous month very low, because it's our bullish line in the sand. Failure to hold it as support, and we're likely to revisit the developing year value high. Like to revisit the developing year value high again, confluent with previous quarter value high. Hey Christian, thank you so much for the 10, man. Appreciate that. I continue to forget that that's even possible for people to donate during the streams. Damn. I'll take a look for you definitely at the end of the stream with Bitcoin for XRP for sure. Again, confluent with previous quarterly value high. That being said, heading into next week, the best trades will be around the newly formed previous month value where previous month VWAP is our bearish line in the sand, and previous month value low is our our bullish line in the sand. Okay, so the narrative here is, if I go back towards this chart, right? Also look at this, no surprise, right? Nice spike into the developing week value low. If there's going to be a cap on upside, probably going to be there. But let's go back to this chart, hourly chart. I think having a bit of a lean back approach here. Right here. That I don't know why this continues to do that. We've got a nice break lower, right? Initial impulse higher Before we broke lower, this was the high. So I'm going to be adding this as my range high and that as my range low. So the range that I'm interested in trading in is high to low, meaning, yes, I have a long open from this exact low, but I have scaled out almost, majority of that here because 2K move off the lows, I'll take it on a Sunday and I'll wait. I want to see if we can do something like this where we, again, the reason why this is an interesting trade to me is because there are people who have longed this already, right? They will have their stops below this low. There are people who want to break down trade this, right? Yes, we still have breakout traders, right? In 2025. So, people are waiting for this to trade below the low to short the fuck out of this right into support, right? So if we're getting this and we spike the lows and my alarm goes off and I see what I need to see in terms of an increase in open interest, large amount of short positioning being opened below the lows, even though that we have such a large increase in participation, price is not moving at all and we reclaim the low, then that's a long for me. And I'm targeting previous month VWAP. Now, why not just this high or that high, whatever? We are rotational between these two pivots. And until proven otherwise, we are to be taking trades around the extremes. Now, a clean break below, followed by short-term consolidation, and we try to break back above and we get slammed back down, similar to what we did right here. That's a short. And what are we going to be targeting at that point? Well, what is the next level of interest based on VWAP, rolling VWAP, and stuff like that? It's going to be the previous quarter value high, which is confluent with the developing year value high right here, right? This area right here. So I'm thinking acceptance below there, that's bearish, and we're going to be revisiting that. But until then, I'm going to be treating this as my next new range, similar to what I did with this range, right? I'll be fading any failed breakaway from value. So the A+ long is going to be consolidation, sweep, reclaim, where I want to be a buyer. I'm going to be targeting that void into previous month VWAP. The A+ short for me is going to be everybody's super bullish at the 21-day composite value low. I'll be laughing here and I'll wait, right? If we're getting like a huge absorption here, I might enter half my usual size already and I'll be waiting for the confirmation. Now, what's the confirmation? The confirmation is a clean break back below previous month VWAP, indicating that this is now a failed break above monthly value. We're going to be looking for shorts there. Do I see an example like that? Maybe something like this, right? Where this is the range right there. Look, range high, range high, range low, range low. Failed break below, target opposite extreme. Failed break above, close back within, retest, short, target the lows, right? Do you see that? This gap here. Let me go to on the 30-minute. This is what a failed auction above value looks like. We take out a previous high right there. And then we've got this gap. You guys see the gap? That's time and space back within value after we fail to break above the composite. Retest it there, short, invalidation above the high, we target the lows, okay? So that's how I'm going to be playing this range if a similar setup occurs, right? If it sets up. So the narrative here is going to be patiently waiting for my level of interest to get tagged, which are the previous month VWAP and the previous month value area low for my next best trades. Should the market come back down into previous month value low and fail to break below, I will be looking for longs towards the previous month VWAP. Conversely, if we fail to break above the previous month VWAP and maybe even tag the 21-day, 21-day compulsory low and close back below previous month VWAP. I will look for shorts, targeting previous month value low, and potentially even previous, let's just say it like this, developing year value high. From a trend following perspective, that's going to be a lot of interest. So long, sweep range low into demand, followed by a reclaim of previous month value low for longs towards previous month VWAP. If you are not comfortable in being aggressive, right? Or if you're sidelined, don't do anything stupid here in the middle of the range. Just wait. If you're like, what if we accept above, right? Well, then we're going to be taking longs. Either way, there's going to be a trade nonetheless, okay? But if you're not really comfortable, oftentimes what Bitcoin tends to do is it sweeps it. If you're too scared to get long there, just wait for it to break above this high. Because usually what it forms is it forms a nice beefy order block there, right? And then we can look for longs there with an invalidation below, and we target the pending liquidity there. Do you post the trades? I mean, I'm not the type of guy. No. Wait. You will never see me posting entry stop target. We are doing this every day though. We're doing daily preps, but I'm not gonna be holding your hand in terms of trades. That's really important for you to understand, because I am here to learn to teach you how to do this on your own. And we're doing this by doing daily preps every day in the morning, but I'm not gonna be writing down long stop entry. I'm going to be helping you throughout the way where I'm like, okay, we are now going to be flushing into this low, right? For example, I'm breaking this down in real time in the Discord. So if my alert gets hit there and we form a high volume bar or whatever, and we break structure, I'm like, okay, this low now needs to hold, and we're probably going to be getting a reversion there. I'm not going to be saying entry stop target, because this often leads to everybody getting huge amount of slippage because everybody's getting the same stop, right? Or we're getting front run because, make no mistake, if I'm saying I'm buying here and 300 people God knows how many people are going to be following me, we're not getting filled, right? We're getting front run. So, and also that, right? I missed a trade. I entered up here. What now? So just to make sure that that's, crystal clear before you think that we're running a signal group. All right, short. It's not necessarily only Coinbase. It's an aggregation. So sweep range high into previous month VWAP for potential shorts on a close back below, targeting previous month value low. Simple. What is my bullish line in the sand? It's going to be the previous month value low. What's going to be my bearish line in the sand? It's going to be the previous month VWAP. And there you have it, right? How long have we been streaming right now? It is 45 minutes. Within 45 minutes, we now know exactly what we're trading for the next week. What does this give us? It gives us peace of mind because we know where and when we want to be trading. And we don't have to wake up early on in the morning, be like, let's check the charts. Let's check the charts. No, there's no need to check the charts. Look, alert, crossing up once per minute, create. Alert, right there, crossing down once per minute, create. You think I'm staring at this chart the entire day? Hell no. I got some other stuff to do, right? Need to work on a course, need to work on, or do stuff with the family. So we now know where and when we want to be trading. Now it's just a waiting game. So is this clear for everybody in terms of what we're going to be trading next week? Let me know in the chat. So let's go all the way up on up here. Okay, so Dino was asking, is the tick size calculation formula simple or do we just follow you? It's simple. It's in, I think it's posted within 2 market reviews ago, where I uploaded the average true range for the tick size. It's in a review, but we can do that later this week as well, so you can follow it along. It's simple. All right. We got that out of the way. Then we had the XRP. Okay, wait. Christine, can you do the same for XRP? Let's have a look at XRP, and I will show you. Right there. XRP. Like that. And then reset chart view. 4-hour chart. Right. Look at this. Right there. And this. So this also answers a question like, does it work on altcoins? Yeah, it does. Okay. Let's break it down. Here, XRP chart. I had it here. Let's get rid of this. H4, reset chart view. Previous year standard deviation 3, previous year standard deviation 4. All right. We're back within this range. Okay. So the yearly was rejecting off the standard deviation 3 band right here. Initially found support right there at that standard deviation 4 band from previous year value. This was your bullish line in the sand during the consolidation. Once we accept below, it's we're going to trade towards the next level of interest based on the yearly, and that's going to be this. So anything here whilst being bullish is not really the best, because once we lose such a significant high time frame pivot, the next likely destination is going to be this, right? Which is that previous year standard deviation 3. So we're forming a low here. However, we're also trying to accept back within the developing year value. So that's kind of bearish as well. On the quarter, I would say we had acceptance within quarterly value. We're now trading below developing quarterly VWAP. This, which is confluent with previous month VWAP, is now our bearish line in the sand for a potential rotation lower into previous month value area low there. The weekly coming up into resistance. I'm not using weekly value for altcoins, so it's only going to be the yearly, quarterly, and the monthly to keep things simple. And the yearly is telling me, all right, we're coming into support there, but developing year value is slightly above. That's going to be a problem, right? Around 3-ish. That is confluent with previous month VWAP. So this is now our bearish line in the sand. It is also confluent with quarterly developing VWAP with a potential rotation lower. So let's put levels on the chart. Remove. First off, the yearly, right here, the yearly. So hourly chart, let's wrap it up right here. So we got, this is the text, developing year, value area high. Then we've got previous year standard deviation 3. Previous year standard deviation 3. Whoops, like that. I hate it when there's a typo. Wait, let me just make sure that there's no typo. And then we've got developing year VWAP, previous standard deviation 4. I want to be aware of that. Previous year standard deviation 4. All right. And then the most important one is going to be the monthly. So we've got previous month VWAP. Previous month VWAP. And then we have previous month value area low. Previous month value area low there. And previous month value area high is confluent with previous year. Previous month value area high. So we mark that out like this. The weekly, I don't use that. The quarterly, wait, do we have anything? Developing quarter value area low confluent with previous month value low. I want to be aware of this. Previous quarter value area high. All right. Previous quarter. Previous quarter value high. And then we're gonna take a look at rolling VWAP because the 30-day, right, and then right there. Okay, so previous month VWAP confluent with 30-day. That's bearish line in the sand, right? And then we've got the quarterly rolling VWAP confluent with previous month very low. So this just adds confluence to our thesis that we're rotational within these two. Okay. Do we have anything of interest above us? No. Previous week VWAP? Nah. All right. Weekly. Nothing of interest there. The daily. Whoops. Like this was. Then we have this. All right. I don't want to clutter my charts that much. Let's get rid of this. Let's make sure. Let's see. We had a range low like that, and then we had a range high like this. That's more like it. All right. H4. H12. Okay. So the range is definitely overlapping here with our bearish line in the sand. Like that. Previous year. I'm gonna put more emphasis on the previous month because this is a standard deviation 3 value from last year, and this is the most recent one. So if you were to ask me, like, what am I looking for? I'm looking at this. This is the short-term distribution that XRP is trading within, right there, right? We can see the significance of that value point right there. We can see it here. We can see it there. So if this is bearish, we've got supply resting above, and we do this, and then reclaim it, it's bearish, and it opens up a potential short for a rotation towards previous month value area low. Conversely, if we're going to be forming a range here, and we do this, sweep it, reclaim the low, I think it sets up for a potential long back into previous month VWAP. But I would keep things short term, right? Because things are bearish as long as you trade below. If we can reclaim this and hold it, then sure, we're gonna retest that. But until then, this is looking like a failed break above value, at which I think this is the bearish line in the sand, and we can start looking for previous month value low. So I hope that answers your question regarding XRP, buddy. Do I think there's gonna be one more liquidity sweep? I'm kind of hoping for it, to be honest. Like, Bitcoin is looking pretty good, but I think the next range that we're gonna be setting up on Bitcoin is going to be between the previous month VWAP and the previous month value area low. But yeah, how do you take Monday high and Monday low into my setups? It's just another layer of confluence. It's not a leading indicator. I think Monday high, Monday low is just a good gauge on where intra-week liquidity is. But if I'm like, oh, we got previous month value area high as resistance, but we just swept Monday's low, I'm bullish? No, right? Because this has more weight to me. So I'm just using it as a additional tool to know where and when to trade. I look at a 30-minute chart always to define acceptance, because TPO is on a 30-minute time frame as well. I've never understood people who are using TPO on, let's say, a 4-hour chart or whatever. It just doesn't make sense. Look, settings, TPO ladder block time period length for intraday 30. The period length unit is minutes. So this is 30 minutes TPO. So that is why my execution time frame is also on the 30-minute chart. Why do you draw your lines in sand when it'd be better to use permanent marker? All right, big ups for Gemmo. You know. All right. I think that's a wrap. I got to do some stuff around the house. If you made it this far throughout the stream, do me a favor and leave me a like. It helps me grow the channel. My goal is to reach 10,000 subs by the end of the year. I think it's doable. But you guys will need to help me for that. So yeah, and if you enjoy this and you want to have these on a daily basis, you want to have a deeper understanding of what I'm actually teaching, you can use the link in the bio where you sign up on an account on Prime Trading and join the Discord. He got the jokes, right? But once again, thank you all for attending the live stream. I wish you all a fantastic Sunday, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care, buddies. See ya.